like that. Woo!
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Matthews, aka B Jizzle. Before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. All of our YouTube videos. Hit that like button. Y'all come in here, hit the share, subscribe. Hit that Cash App, $ BJ Matthews, $ BJ Matthews for all this great content. As y'all continuously show your love to the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, make sure you guys also hit the like button, hit the share, subscribe, hit the Cash App, $ BJ Matthews. Also, as well, get your membership badges that are available. We have three options: the Pull Up badge, the LA Clipper badge, and the interview badge. If you guys want to show your love to the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. But let's get it popping. All right, man. So we back at it with another great video for y'all today, man. Actually, it's pretty early in the morning. It's 5 o'clock West Coast time. It's gonna be a pre-recorded video like I usually tend to do a lot of times. And I thought that I'll have a chance to kind of talk to y'all a little bit about this subject, which I think a lot of people who are around basketball, not even just in basketball, just in general, have checked it out, and it's the new podcast that JJ Reddick and LeBron James have started called Mind of the Game. Mind of the Game podcast right now. Their first episode just came out yesterday, or was it yesterday or 2 days ago? I think it was two. I want to say 2 days ago. So now it's because it was Tuesday. Yeah. So it came out 2 days ago, and it was basically a show that these two have started. Of course, JJ Reddick is into the podcasting business now. A former NBA player. He has a podcast called The Old Man in Three, and now that he's got more time on his hands, he is able to start another podcast with LeBron James called The Mind of the Game. And as y'all come here, smash that like button. As y'all come here, smash that like button, because we're gonna unveil a lot of stuff about this. So I took the liberty of doing my due diligence and listening to this podcast yesterday. Last night actually. Um, I said to myself, I'm going to take some time to really kind of, ponder this and talk about this. Like y'all know, a lot of times with my videos like this, I like to, put a lot of detail and stuff into it. So I decided, take my time and really kind of, listen to the podcast and, digest it and kind of think about it, sleep on it, all that stuff. And the podcast right here, I kind of want to, detail and dive into what my thoughts were about it, because a lot of people, I'm surprised, had like an opinion on it, from content creators to fans. I think even some celebrities have touched on. I know Draymond Green touched on it, and people like that, they've touched on the podcast and what they think about it. So I'm gonna give my thoughts and my 2 cents of what I thought about the first episode and like the idea of the show and things of that nature. So the first thing I want to kind of put out there is this. My opinion on this show is not to really circle around how I personally truly feel about LeBron James. You know what I mean? Because as y'all all know, I'm not a big LeBron fan. As far as his game goes, I'm not a big LeBron fan. I don't really take none of his, as far as his playing style, I'm gonna take that back. His playing style, I'm not a big fan of his playing style. Nothing personal, but it just doesn't fit my criteria. That's just not, how he plays the game. It's just, totally, opposite of how, I look at the game as far as skill and things of that nature. And that's cool. That's cool. But I just never feel like, LeBron James, somebody I would just, watch tape on and be like, hey, learn this move from him, learn this. Like, that's just not me. Um, everybody out there, criteria, but that's just mine. So in doing this opinion is not going to be revolving around, my personal, feelings about him as far as his game. But I'm just going to be strictly on the podcast. So the podcast yesterday, was in a calm setting. It looks like it's in a calm setting, where JJ Reddick and LeBron James are, both talking, and they're both able to sit down. I think they had some wine. And it's kind of like a little barbershop talk. Y'all know LeBron James has another podcast. I don't know if it's still going. I think it's called In the Shop or something like that, where he has like plenty of, figureheads. Like he had a lot of, different basketball heads in there. They just basically just a chill vibe. Nothing really, too extravagant. More just sitting down, just kind of, what I'm saying, talking and, what I'm saying, having conversation with one another. Not just with basketball players, with different athletes. I think Peyton Manning came on. Um, Candace Parker's been on. Draymond Green, Drake. Um, a lot of different people, a lot of different icons have been on that show. Um, so this right here, I kind of, didn't see this one coming, that this was going to be a new show that was, coming along, because, LeBron James is still actively playing in the NBA. So for him to have this podcast just to drop so late in the season, usually have stuff like this during, what I'm saying, early on in the season. A lot of these guys are having podcasts, from Paul George to Draymond Green to Patrick Beverly. What I'm saying, that, it's been going on for quite some time. And this one is just a podcast I did not see coming. So the Mind of the Game podcast, from what I see and what I understand, what, was explained as far as what I've read, and also what JJ Reddick said at the beginning of the show yesterday, it's a podcast centered around, what I'm saying, getting into the mind of actual basketball players who've actually played at the highest level. They talked about, what I'm saying, their experiences. It's kind of like it's like a feel. Like I kind of see him kind of like, what I'm saying, trying to angle this towards basketball players. And also, people who are, obsessed with the game, right? And I'm gonna kind of tell y'all who it kind of reminds me of in a minute, but I want to kind of stick on this point. This was something that was created for mainly basketball players and people who was into the basketball scene, and not just basketball players, but even people who just, what I'm saying, want to take a piece of just, everyday life, right? That's kind of the idea what I saw after the first episode. Now, I'm not so sure when, each episode drops. I'm not so sure how long this podcast is gonna go, but the podcast basically is they've already, recorded 2 episodes, pre-recorded, and they just dropped the first one, so the second one should be coming, pretty soon. So let me get into what I saw, in the podcast, in my personal opinion. So number one, the podcast that what I want to, share with y'all is basically, for me, the vibe and the demeanor and the attention. What I think is kind of centered around is 2 different shows. I think it's centered around Detail, which was the mind from Kobe Bryant, right? That's one part of the aspect I think the show kind of, what I'm saying, resembles. And the other one is called The Old Man and the Three, which is JJ Reddick's other podcast, where he has a podcast with another guy. I'm not so sure his actual name, but he's his co-host, and he talks about, what I'm saying, the game as far as, what I'm saying, aftermath. Now, JJ Reddick is somebody who I think has a great basketball mind. JJ Reddick played at, what I'm saying, Duke University, which was under the coach Mike K, with the, what I'm saying, the famous Mike K. He had a pretty solid NBA career. Like, I think he averaged 12 points per game in his 15-year career. Now, some people may say that that's not nothing, that's not much, but let me tell y'all something. Averaging 12 points in the NBA career for 15 seasons is actually pretty solid. That means every team he's been on, he's been a very integral piece of, what I'm saying, the team and what I'm saying, the system and things of that nature. He played for the Clippers, he played for the Pelicans, he played for the Sixers, he played for who else did he play for? I'm trying to think. Clippers, Sixers, Celtics, or Clippers, Sixers, Pelicans. If there's any other teams, it's just kind of slipping my mind, but he was known for mainly just his outside shooting. As far as the Duke, I think he holds the record for the most points scored, or he's one of the top scorers of all time at Duke University, which is, nothing to sneeze at. So he definitely does have some basketball intellectual and some basketball, background. So that's the guy that's actually, what I'm saying, deciding to, talk about this subject. Now, of course, LeBron James, we all know LeBron James is, one of the greatest basketball players, what I'm saying, of all time. I don't think he's the GOAT, but he's definitely, to me, on my top 5. Just through his accolades, his stats, his accomplishments, even the championships. He has 4 titles, even though he lost 6. You can't. For me, there's no way for me to take him out the top five. Right? He's just, I mean, the longevity, what he's able to do at at this age, and stuff of that nature. It's just a lot of stuff that you could, what I'm saying, detail where it's like, I will not put him outside the top five. That's something I will not do. Everybody kind of, what I'm saying, have their opinions on that, but I'm not gonna do that. So let's talk about my ideas of the podcast. So just off the fact of the vibe, what I'm saying, the information, the what I'm saying, the two people first off that's involved in it, mixed in with just how the podcast seems to be centered around, and how they were speaking and talking, I actually enjoyed it. I actually liked it. Now I know a lot of people may think of it like, well, the podcast was boring, or the podcast was not something that was entertaining. The podcast, what I'm saying, it seemed like LeBron was talking about himself. Um, Again, it's not for everybody. I mean, that's something that I think was explained at the start. I think this podcast is not for everybody. Like I told you, I think that the podcast is specifically for basketball minds, players, people who want to be, what I'm saying, inspired, things of that nature. I think that's what this podcast is meant to be. You know what I mean? If you just call a spade, and like I said, I'm taking all my personal feelings towards LeBron out of this conversation. We have to be honest about what LeBron James is. LeBron James, like I said, is one of the best basketball players that's ever played the game. But also that, what he's been able to do in his 21 years is remarkable. Now, you guys can, go through the, allegations of, I'm not going to even really talk too much about it, about, how he's playing this long and stuff like that. That's all allegations. That's all stuff people just putting out there. Nothing's been proven. Nothing has been, what I'm saying, said. Until that day happens, I'm not going to go off of just what I was alleged. It has to be something that's actually, what I'm saying, proven. I don't care how many, certain people says, smoke screens or whatever. It has to be something that's proven. So when I see somebody who's done 21 years of playing basketball, just being able to play, okay, you know, we got there's something that it has to be some type of discipline there, and that's one of the forms that he talked about yesterday was discipline. He talked about having basketball IQ. He talked about the history of the game. He talked about having a mindset to what I'm saying, sacrifice. There's a lot of things that he spoke upon. I know people were kind of waiting for the X's and O's and all that stuff. I think that's going to come later into the podcast, but I think there was some certain stuff you can take from that, that specific episode and apply it, right? He spoke upon a lot of things that put him where he's at today, right? A lot of us, get upset with these athletes, and we get upset with these, what I'm saying, these people in these positions for not giving back. But then when they start giving back, whether it be their time, whether it be their money, whether it be information, people want to say it's about them. Well, shit, I mean, LeBron James is one of the greatest players of all time. Like I said, if I got an opportunity to see some of his, what I'm saying, blueprint and some of his work and what he's been able to do and be able to accomplish and get in the mindset of him, why would I not listen? Why would I not take some time to actually see what he's talking about? Not saying, oh, this is boring. I don't want to hear this. This is just something. Well, maybe it's not meant for you to be so entertained. Maybe it's there to inform you. See, that's the problem. A lot of people can't sit still and actually watch and actually learn from somebody or learn something without being entertained. Something wrong with that. As an adult, especially as a man, you should be able to sit down and sit back and actually be able to take in and have a intellectual, conversation, or actually listen to somebody who's having one. If you have to always be entertained, something's wrong. So I'll say that. I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan, but sometimes people just go overboard with the criticism. I'm sorry. I mean, to say that it's about him, it's all about him. I mean, shit, yeah. I mean, I want to hear about LeBron James's, what's in his mind. Hell, I'd rather hear this LeBron than actually see him on the court. I think LeBron James right now, it's time for him to hang it up. I think he's over playing basketball as far as, him playing, all these years. He's already got the, scoring title. He's got 4 championships. He's already got a championship with the Lakers. He got a championship with every organization he's been with, the Cavs and the Heat. Um, you know what I'm saying? I think he's accomplished everything that you can accomplish with basketball. I'm ready to see the next phase of LeBron. I'm ready to see the LeBron James, the IQ, the coach, the person that actually, you know what I'm saying, you could break the game down. I think he can, a lot of information he has, he can pass it on to the next generation. And if it means talking a little bit about, his story, about what he had to do and what he had to go through and what he had to do to, get to his spot, hey, I'm all for it. He spoke about how JJ asked a question about, I mean, I think the title of the story was what makes a great basketball player. And JJ said, what is the number one thing you had to do? Like, what did it take for you to get to this level? And he said, sacrificing loved ones. And of course, I kind of, raised my eyebrows, like, what do you mean by that? But he went into details, like, okay, well, he's saying basically, you know, he used it as an analogy, sacrificing family time. He's going home instead of him having to, I'm saying, um, spend time with his family. He's waking up early, 4 or 5 in the morning, consistently, and having the ability to come home, take a nap, go back into training, not having to, I'm saying, have the time to, I'm saying, be around his loved ones. And he was doing this at a young age. He spoke about his, his friends he grew up with, in college. They're telling him to go to these parties and stuff like that. You gotta remember, LeBron came into the NBA at 18. So he's been having this strict schedule for over 20, 21 years. So that, he's resolved around discipline. The same habits he kept building over and over. That's what LeBron James preached about in this episode. Having to having to sacrifice, having to go to parties, having to sacrifice, what I'm saying, not having to, have the normal life, quote unquote. Now, a lot of players can, appease to that, but that's something that needs to be explaining when they talk about successful people. Successful people, not just LeBron, like talking about themselves. I mean, if they get to there, you gotta understand, a person of his ilk is the 1%. It's not very common. So you want what he has to say is very valuable. It's not something that is like a person that can just sit back and say, "Well, anybody can." Nah, anybody can't do that, right? Like I said, I would rather hear this LeBron James than the LeBron James that is continuously playing and just for whatever reason, I don't know if he said he loves the game. I mean, I think he does love the game still, but I just think it's really kind of getting to a point with LeBron where it's time for us to kind of see the younger players, what I'm saying, take over the league. Don't get me wrong. I think LeBron James has an ego. I think he does have quite an ego. He tries to, what I'm saying, want to be the center of attention because, he's used to being that for his pretty much his entire life. So he has to let go of that, aspect. But, you know, in the episode he gave, a lot of gems. He talked about the history of the game. He talked about the influential, players of Steph Curry and, what I'm saying, Allen Iverson. Those are his 2 most influential players, in NBA history. I think he said Allen Iverson was his favorite player growing up. He spoke about, how a lot of kids today, the IQ, he talked about IQ, what makes a great basketball player is IQ something that, I'm saying, can be learned, or is something that you can be born, is it you're born with it? He went into that. He talked about how he could break plays down at the age of 8 years old. What I'm saying, like a, what I'm saying, like a computer. Make no mistake about it. LeBron James, his IQ is something that's given. It's something that was given to the, what I'm saying, the Most High, given from God. I mean, he's constantly been talked about. Many people in the league speak about how he's able to, memorize plays, step by step, and he demonstrates it. That's a rare form. A lot of people need to hear that. And my thing is, shit, if you don't like hearing what the podcast is saying, you shouldn't probably watch it. You're free not to watch the podcast. I mean, I'll never understand a person who sits back and watches something they don't enjoy. I mean, you saw the first episode, cool. Um, what I'm saying? If you didn't like it, or you thought it was something that's not up your alley, then you can free to just, hang it up and not even watch no more. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with my podcast. It's like you got people all in the chat who are not, you saying this is trash, this is a trash take, but yet you over here listening, to what we're saying. So a lot of people just enjoy being miserable at the end of the day. And again, this is coming from somebody who's not a LeBron fan, but I do appreciate greatness. I appreciate, what I'm saying, you know, consistency. I appreciate discipline. I appreciate those aspects in life. I mean, that needs to be taught more. Not something that should be, what I'm saying, thrown away to the side. Like I see, some people talking about, LeBron's making it about himself. I mean, like, well, duh, it's it's somebody that's, a rare feat into, in the world, man. Like you want to hear his story. You want to hear about what he has to say. You want to hear how he can motivate and actually inspire the younger generation. Like a lot of these people need this type of information. I'm not so sure how long the show is gonna last, but you know, I enjoyed the first episode, to be quite honest with you. I really did. Now, I would like to hear some more basketball knowledge as far as, what I'm saying, X's and O's. Hopefully they start doing that. But as far as the story that goes, as far as what, LeBron James said in a nutshell, um, and JJ Reddick talked about in a nutshell, I actually enjoyed it. What else can I say? I I'm not so sure why, like I said, they started this show so, late into the season. Other than I could think of, they just wanted to basically, like, again, LeBron's ego, he wants to be seen. And I'm not denying that. I'm not saying LeBron James don't have an ego. I'm just speaking upon of the information he was given. I mean, just because he has an ego doesn't mean he has valuable information and valuable gems he can pass on to the next generation or people who want to learn the game even more. I mean, just off the fact that it's LeBron James and, you know, him being on the show, it's gonna already do numbers. See, a lot of people think that it's about, being, such a great show. It got to be, so A1 quality and all that stuff. I mean, that's cool. You can have that. That's a good thing to have, but the show is gonna sell itself because who's on it. It's not gonna sell based off of because it's like it's LeBron. I mean, you go watch games, you go watch, it's gonna do numbers regardless. Not just the people who support LeBron, but the people who do not like LeBron. They will sit up and, watch all his episodes and all, I'm saying, everything. Like it's like Floyd Mayweather. People are, watching his fights just to watch him try to lose. So, good publicity, like bad publicity, as far as this thing is bad publicity. It can go, go hand in hand. But like I said, the show is gonna sell itself off the fact who's on it. Um, I don't know, man. It's just again, um, I don't know. I don't know. I've never met LeBron James personally. I know people who know LeBron. Like I know his my brother knows his his son Bronny, pretty well. They've met each other before, taking pictures and stuff. Um, that's my brother on the left. That's my Bronny on the right. Um, man, this was like I think 2 years ago. But personally, what I do know about LeBron's, people around him, he seems to have like a good support system. He seems to have, I'm saying, kids that are, real disciplined and respectful. I met his son before. He seemed like he's a respectful kid. Um, he seems to come from a very respectable family. So I watch stuff like that. Like I said, I don't really care too much for his game, but life is more than just basketball. How are you as a person, how are you as a human being matters to me even more. Um, but as far as what he had to say yesterday on the shop or, the day before, I think that's something that could be, what I'm saying, talked about, you know, amongst the masses. And again, if you don't like the show, you don't have to watch. I mean, make room for people who want to, watch the show. But that's all I have to really kind of say about that. And I want to kind of, what I'm saying, give my 2 thoughts into my 2 cents. What y'all think about the show? Do y'all think the show was whack? Did y'all think the show was enjoyable? Do you guys think the show's gonna last a long time? What's your ideas of the show? What you think is gonna actually happen in the long run? But with that being said, with respect, say pull up a seat, pull up a chair, put a live pace out of here like swim well.